Hello again, everyone. Edwin Learnard back once again. In this YouTube astrological segment, I'm going to be dissertating and talking about Neptune transiting the 12th house in a natal chart. Now, on average, Neptune will traverse a house for approximately 14 years. However, if your house size is a little bit larger than average, then Neptune will be in there for a little bit of a longer duration. If your house size is a little bit smaller than average, then Neptune will be in there for a little bit of a shorter period. Well, anyway, first thing I look at, okay, Neptune is in transiting its natural house. Neptune does correspond with the 12th house, so it could be a very auspicious and favorable period for things that are connected with Neptune in the 12th house, such as spirituality, the metaphysical, getting in touch with really your maybe the subconscious, the unconscious, the maybe that intuitive side. But what people really, what they have to remember too, is that I think when you look at all transits, they can have good and they can have bad. This could be a very beneficial transit, but let's look at some other things too with it. Now, the 12th house is also, it's connected, okay, with our hidden enemies, our hidden adversaries. And in this case, now, I know Neptune, it could strongly be about dissolution, about dissolving and dissipating things. This could make these hidden enemies or adversaries somewhat dissipate, but at the same time, it still could indicate these people might be connected somehow, like in a Neptunian field, for example. They could be, these enemies could be perhaps astrologers, people with the metaphysical, could be spiritual people, people in chemistry, illusionists, magicians, and anyway, and what it could be too is that, remember that the 12th house is also associated with mental illness. Now, I think in most cases, people won't receive a mental illness during this transit. However, in some cases, it could, I believe it could indicate that a person may have in this transit, there might be a little greater propensity to have this than in a lot of other transits. And it could be a mental illness that could be confounding, confusing, enigmatic, somewhat mysterious, and maybe hard to decipher, how kind of hard to figure. But on the other, as far as some other things connected with this could be a time that could be very auspicious and positive, perhaps for introspection, for meditating. The 12th house is also associated with solitude and seclusion. And this could be a time for getting in touch, perhaps with your spiritual side during this time. It could be a time where you might study something Neptunian in solitude and seclusion, doing something connected with the metaphysical, such as astrology, spirituality, perhaps something connected with water, such as oceanography, perhaps things connected with chemistry, studying something perhaps with the pharmaceutical work, maybe doing things that are really, you could privately also maybe mentor maybe people that are maybe recovering from drugs or alcohol, for example. And on another thing too is that the 12th house is also associated with secret sorrows. And Neptune does rule drugs, and it's connected with alcohol. So it's important to remember that this is a time where in some cases it could be, when someone receives this transit, it could indicate maybe some alcohol or drug activity behind closed doors. And it could be something where someone has this transit and they might keep this very privately to themselves if they do become involved in this. And this is another thing to be wary of as far as this transit goes. And the thing about it is, with the 12th house being connected with our solitude and seclusion, this could be also a period where you might go into kind of your own fantasy realm by yourself. It could be time where maybe you read maybe fantasy novels at home when you're by yourself, or playing more video games, doing something, playing like Dungeons and Dragons, something where you kind of go into your own realm. And it could be maybe you take that trip where you kind of go on that fantasy island, so to speak. Not the TV show, but you understand what I'm saying. And kind of go into your own a place that might be maybe that's mystical, and being by yourself, and enjoying really strongly that solitude and seclusion. Now, the 12th house is also associated with our restrictions and limitations, and Neptune can be about deception. So I think it's important too, where Neptune in transiting this house might make some of your things connected with your limitations, your restrictions, they might maybe help make them dissipate. At the same time, it could cast an illusion. It might give you some self-imposed maybe limitations and restrictions, or might magnify maybe or distort a problem you have, and maybe in some area you might be capable of doing more than you actually can, because there might be maybe something where these restrictions are maybe self-imposed, and maybe you're fooling yourself as to what maybe things you're not able to do. So those are some things to look at as far as this transit goes. And it's also important to look at the aspects, if any, that are made to your natal planets and points from this transit, as this could impact the transit. Now, let's say that transiting Neptune is making a square, inconjunct, or opposition to your natal Mercury. Well, during this time, your thinking might be a little convoluted and chaotic, and you might have some difficulty making rational and logical decisions. And being in the 12th house, this could be associated with things connected in your private life. Now, let's take another example. Let's say that transiting Neptune is making a conjunction to your natal Venus. Well, this could indicate that you might be somewhat unrealistic in connection with monetary matters, and perhaps things with love and romance. And being in the 12th house, well, this could be tied in perhaps to self-undoing. And as far as the romance goes, this might be something connected, being in the 12th house, with clandestine affairs. So anyway, people, that'll conclude this YouTube astrological segment for Neptune transiting the 12th house in a natal chart. And stay tuned next time, where I'll be dissertating and talking about Pluto transiting the 1st house in a natal chart. Two things I want to get with you on before I head out. Firstly, the stars may impel but do not compel. And secondly, never isolate any single astrological element, aspect, planetary placement, position, configuration, influence, or what have you, and make an analysis of a person, astrologically speaking, based on this alone, because astrologically speaking, the person is the sum of all their components in their natal chart, and not just one. Until next time, people, stay well.